What's going on? It's your boy Jerome from JeromeWonderFitness.com. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 things that you can do to help reverse PCOS symptoms. So I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of women come to me over the years telling me they're struggling with PCOS. I have clients right now, active clients, that are going through the process that I'm going to share with you today that are going to help alleviate those symptoms. So first off, I just want to preface, I can't find my microphone, okay? So I'm recording this with no mic. So if you hear an echo, if you're like, man, this sound quality isn't what I like, I'm sorry, bear with me. I'm going to give you the information, the knowledge, the insight that is going to help with PCOS. So put all that aside, all right? So first of all, what is insulin resistance? So insulin resistance is where your body, which knowing that insulin regulates your blood sugar, your body's not regulating the blood sugar correctly. So the pancreas specifically produces more insulin to try to force the issue, right? This is because you're resistant to the insulin. There's not an appropriate response. And this leads to cysts in the ovaries, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? This is what the root cause is. So if we can take care of the insulin issue, we can take care of the PCOS. So what foods increase insulin the most? Let's start there. Carbohydrates, sugary foods, right? And I'm not just talking about simple sugars. I'm talking about carbs like rice. I'm talking about pasta, potatoes, so starchy carbs. These things raise insulin as well, right? And of course, the honey, the syrup, the candies, the cookies, right? The treats, these things raise insulin. So if we can stay away from those things for an extended period of time and focus more on a lower carb, higher protein type of diet, we are going to lower the insulin response, right? And I'm not saying this is going to work after a day, after a week, after a month. This needs to be done for an extended period of time. You got to want it. You got to want it, because I know a lot of women that deal with PCOS and it's caused them to be infertile, right? They've been married for years, trying with their husbands to try to conceive a child, and it hasn't happened because of the PCOS. I've heard of women who, you know, they're growing hair on their face because of the PCOS. They can't lose weight because of the PCOS. They have no period, no menstrual cycle because of the PCOS, or maybe it's just long. It's a extended cycle for months. They have their period because, once again, the PCOS. So it's a small price to pay to control what you put in your mouth to be able to alleviate those symptoms, all right? Especially the conceiving one. I mean, come on, I could only imagine that struggle of, you want a child, you want to, hold your baby in your hand, but because of the PCOS, it's not happening, all right? So take this advice seriously. So like I said, you want to focus on a more higher protein diet. So things like beef, chicken, turkey, right? Tuna, salmon, right? These are very healthy, high protein, low carbohydrate options, okay? You also would want to focus on things like nuts, seeds, right? Good healthy fats, good healthy omegas, all right? Vegetables, kale, spinach, arugula, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, right? More on the broccoli, the Brussels sprouts later, but green leafy vegetables are a great addition to this because not only are they not going to spike your blood sugar, they're not going to spike your insulin, but you're getting micronutrients that are going to make you feel good, energized, and healthy, all right? Second thing that you can do to help alleviate PCOS is decrease your cortisol levels. So now a lot of people don't know this, but cortisol actually can raise your blood sugar as well. Now, cortisol is a stress hormone that's produced by the adrenals. So when you're stressed, your body will start pumping out cortisol, all right? And cortisol is catabolic, meaning it breaks down, it doesn't build up. So if you have high cortisol, you're going to be breaking down muscle tissue amongst other types of tissue. But another thing cortisol does is it indirectly spikes insulin because it raises your blood sugar, when you're in a state of fight or flight, your body is essentially in a place where it needs to respond, it needs to attack, or it needs to run. So what's your body gonna do? It's gonna produce blood sugar. It needs sugar to function, right? Like, yes, your body could use fat, but the quickest, most easiest fuel source that your body can use is sugar. So when cortisol goes up to try to get you to move into a direction, your blood sugar is gonna spike. And then because insulin is the hormone that essentially gets the sugar out of the body, the excess sugar at least, your insulin's gonna go up. So now you're gonna be dealing with the same PCOS symptoms just because of stress. So what I would recommend is meditation, all right? 10-15 minutes, you can put on some an instrumental. I like to use biblical soaking music, right? You could do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, or 15, 20. The longer you actually do this, the better. But what happens when you meditate? There's studies that show that your amygdala, right, the part of your brain that actually gets active when you're stressed or when you're in fear and anxiety and worry, it starts to shrink. Like physiologically, like the physical structure of that part of your brain starts to shrink. So that's a very powerful thing when it comes to not walking in fear, anxiety, stress, and worry, right? So meditation is really powerful. Journaling, getting your feelings out, getting them on paper, really powerful to calming your adrenals and essentially alleviating stress. You can also take adaptogenic herbs, things like ashwagandha, rhodelia, maca. These are really powerful. You may have heard of these for PCOS, but the reason why they're recommended is simply because they help lower your stress levels. All right, and like I said, because stress raises insulin and insulin causes this PCOS thing, is going to be a very powerful strategy to alleviating it. All right. Now, finally, the last thing I recommend is detoxification for your hormones. All right, so balancing your hormones. So when you have PCOS, typically your estrogen levels are going to be high. That leads to water weight. That leads to bloating, right? So what you could do is you could take a herb called dandelion root. This helps with getting rid of excess water. You can also take flax seeds, chia seeds. These help balance estrogen levels as well, okay? Now, I did mention when I was talking about the leafy greens, the cruciferous vegetables. I said more on that later. Guess what? Later has arrived. So cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, they actually have something in it called DIM, D-I-M, and DIM helps flush estrogen out of your body, right? So that excess estrogen that you're carrying, that's obviously further amplifying the symptoms that you have. You can start to get rid of it and heal from a holistic perspective, all right? So if you know anyone with PCOS, you gotta make sure you share this video with them. All right, share this video with them because you don't want to be living with this. You don't, and I've helped so many people I've helped so many people alleviate these symptoms. So I know it's possible. All right. So now, if you like the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share, like I said, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.